12 when I knew that I wanted to work on some aspect of natural sciences. And that was something that was very fixated in my mind. And I sort of went online and just searched how to become how to work with animals or how to work with natural ecosystems. And that's when they told me that you have to become a zoologist. And that's how to become a zoologist. You get a PhD. And that was what my aim was ever, that to get a PhD and work in natural ecosystems. And when I passed out of my school, my mom asked me that, what do you want to do? Do you want to take up medicine? Do you want to take up engineering? I said, no, none of that. I want to do zoology, because that's what, how to become a zoologist, you take up a degree in zoology. And that's how I ended up doing zoology for my bachelor's. And I did it in Kolkata because I was never a great student really in school. Like, I did not get the top marks or anything like that to secure me in the top colleges of the country. So I went ahead and took up a degree in my hometown, which is Kolkata. And during the process, I realized that I did not want to really study the medicinal aspects of it, or so a lot of degrees in the country are still aligned towards physiology to cater to human needs rather than of natural ecosystems. And at that time, whatever resources I had, it taught me that I did not want to pursue in this line really. And that's where I took up, at the time, marine science was one of the degrees that was being given through Calcutta University. And I took that up. And that's how and during my master's, one of my seniors from my college, from my university, he reached out to our department and said that there is a cruise going and there are empty berths. So why don't you send some of your students to get some experience in shipboard sailing, like in the research that goes on. And that's how I got introduced to the institute. That I came in and I went on a research cruise to the middle of the Indian Ocean. And we were on board, like surrounded by nothing really. And that was my first forte into actually doing research in a field that was completely unknown to me. And that was something that was absolutely fascinating, because and I met actual scientists who do this for a living. And I met people who have over like 300 days of sailing experiences. They've gone to near Antarctica and sailing all across everywhere in the Southern Ocean. And I got to I was introduced to not just marine science, but I think various aspects of how research is really conducted. Like, what are the questions that need to be asked for a researcher? And that's where an opening came up right after my master's, and I applied and I got through as a research fellow. And that's how I joined the institute. And it was only a couple of, I got to handle all the samples from Antarctica almost immediately once I joined. And then the institute has people from physical oceanography, from chemistry backgrounds who are studying past climate. Like, it's a multi-dimensional institution actually. So biology is just one fraction of what people do. So, and I came into this group which was already working in what we have like ice cores. Basically, they basically drill a cylinder right into hole or cylinder, and then they go back in time to see what the past climate looked like. So, and in fact, one of my mentor, who has basically given me my training, Dr. Runa, she has even done some microbiology analysis from the ice core as well. Wow. So those sort of, I was introduced to all those things, and we had a full walk-in cold room that we could go in wearing our puffer jackets and all. And that was my first look into how even a sample looks like. And I think through this process, what really trained me is to ask questions in the right format. And I think this is not only through my master's or my bachelor's, it was right at the time when I decided that I want to go a PhD. I think that's where that, how to ask questions and to be able to answer that question. And when I came into research, I realized that there is no wrong answer to a research. Even a non-significant result means something. And I
Right.
think that's something that I've learned on the way.
I think, I mean, hearing you speak about, you mentioned it a couple of times that how you ask a question or what is the right research question to go forward into. Um, mm, so I was actually thinking about this, that the way I see it in my very layman terms is that, for example, the reason I do this podcast is purely out of curiosity. And a lot of people look at endeavors fueled through pure curiosity and nothing else as maybe like a useless endeavor. That why are you pursuing this? Like, I am asking questions only because I don't have answers for them, and that's it. That's the only reason. There's no motive. There's no. I'm not trying to prove a point. I'm not trying to maybe earn some money out of it. I'm not looking at commercial viability of a future technology that can be based on this research. It's just questions for questions sake. Uh, that kind of what I would say pure curiosity, does that make one ask better research questions, or do they need to be in the context of a certain objective or goal in mind?
So I would say that it's a mix of both, because somewhere uh, research costs money.
Yeah.
So that is where I would say why both are involved. Both is very crucial, because a curiosity-driven approach would get you all the answers in the world. And that is fantastic to keep on having that curiosity. But somewhere that has to merge with a requirement. And especially when someone has to live, I
Hmm.
would say. So, so it's a very difficult answer to give in one go, really. But it's, I would say, important to find the field which will allow you to do both.
Hmm.
And that's where choosing which lab to go to or what kind of research you want to align yourself to matters.
Hmm.
And where you are able to just justify your curiosity. I think that's how I would like to answer that question, really.
How did you find that intersection in your research work?
So
Was it fueled by, say, a mentor telling you that I think that you'd suit this job? Or was it something that you had something in mind and thought maybe I'll pitch this as an idea for research?
So I would say that luck did play a big role in this, because when I was out looking for opportunities to uh, pursue after my master's, I was quite intentional about choosing fields which would allow me to fuel my curiosity. And that came at even looking at research positions in like various I that's why like going into mainstream, say a pharmaceutical company or something, would have probably allowed me to do some part of a research, but it would not have been able to fuel a curiosity. And
Hmm.
I think where like I really say this to a lot of people, that my motto is where opportunity meets preparation. And I think that's something that I really do believe in,
Hmm.
is that when the opportunity did arise, and I was ready to take it up. And this opportunity really did come in on. So I interviewed for a research fellow position, and I did not get selected at the first go.
Okay.
I was waitlisted, and fortunately or unfortunately, the candidate who was selected had got somewhere else,
Okay.
and she chose to take up that position. And they reached out to me asking, "Are you still available?" And I said, "Yes, I'm ready to join." So I think. that's where I say that luck did play a role in my whole life quite a bit for me to be able to align my ambitions with my career.
But at that point, were you in your preparation, like you said, that you're not necessarily preparing for a thing? I mean, for the specific opportunity that is coming to you, you're just generally preparing yourself.
Yes. So generally preparing in the sense that I think throughout even my like there was no concept of it for me to mug up or to just I'm someone who consumes a lot of like material. Like I like reading some things that make me like go into a wormhole. So I'll go into uh, one after the other. So I think I was continuously reading. And when the call came that you have been selected for a post which does microbial research in the cryosphere, and I already was aware of what it would look like, what kind of microbes live in it, because when I did not stop reading up about it. I think when I came in and I was told that, okay, this is what you have to do, it was not something that I was absolutely pulled into a completely different world. Yes, microbiology was a different thing. Working with ice samples and water samples from these remote areas was new. I would not say that was absolutely something that I've been doing, but yeah, I think I never stopped uh, reading about these things, because whatever fascinates me, I can consume it for hours and hours, and I never stop.
Yeah, I mean, if a 12-year-old kid is reading National Geographic, then you don't need to tell me that you're a voracious reader. I think that is pretty clear. Also, you're from
But
Kolkata, so again, that is another hint that you're a reader. So you don't need to tell me that twice. But yeah, you were saying something. You can complete your thought.
so that's again something that that ecosystem of reading was also something that I grew up with. My sister introduced me to my first book, like which was like I still read a lot of fiction. I do not read non-fiction. I do not necessarily consume a lot of non-fiction, and I think that kind of like those imaginary worlds really fuel a lot of my questions as well. When I was very young, I would read through like anything, like imaginary and from yeah, anything, like whatever books were there at home. And I grew up with two siblings, so we had a lot of books, and everyone in my family reads, so we had quite a collection at home to consume. And yeah.
So I don't think you would have had a tough time for those 3 or 6 months that you were holed up in Antarctica, because you would be throughout in the library just reading and making
So
sure
I
that
did, yeah. So that's what I did. Do carry a like
Kindle.
I Kindle, yeah, because and I think that's also something that my sister had told me, that you buy your Kindle before going, because you are a reader, and so do carry it, and it really did quite a bit. But in Antarctica, what happens is that it's a space that really cuts you off from the mainland, because you're in the station where you have to work, and you're surrounded by the same people all the time. And for 2 to 3 months that you're living there, it's a very work driven, like you have to finish your work within that time, while also being mindful that there are people helping us, because there's no one to carry, like when we go to our field, which was we have to walk for distances, carry back our like huge amount of samples. And we would always tell people that, okay, can you please come with us? Why don't you help us for our field? We'll be there for the whole day outside. So there would be people coming, and it would be only justified that we help them back. So it's always a barter system that and that creates a very nice space to work as well, if we are able to do that kind of harmonious exchange. And that's where so in the station, so I was in the Bharti research station, which looks like as if a space station, like a alien spaceship has been landed, has been put on the continent. So it's really fascinating to be there, but it also cuts you off from anything that happens outside. So
Yeah.
that's also pretty in a it reading at that time really helps to connect you back. And that time it was not only just books that I was reading, there was a lot of research material that I had to also go through. So I was carrying all of that with me. So
So
while I was
I think we'll reach Bharti station, and of course uh, all the Indian snacks that you get up there and everything. But before that, let's start at on the Indian coast. Your journey starts with I mean, you take your Russian boat from Cape Town, or did you fly in?
Yes, so I flew in. All times I have gone to Antarctica that I have always flown in. There are flights that take off from Cape Town, and also there is also a ship that is chartered by our institute for that expedition. That takes the cargo as well as manpower for the research, and usually the helicopter and all these things follow with the ship. But when we sail from Cape Town, that happens at a quite a later time. So whenever I have required to go to Antarctica, we needed right at the beginning when the melt starts, because we go during the summer, but we go in a little earlier on. So that's why I've always flown into Antarctica. And
So that's around November.
So November, December, like that. Yeah. No, mostly November. One time I've even gone in October, so that has been the earliest. So that I've been to. Yeah. So that is right when Antarctica stays complete day during the summertime. So I don't get to see any night during that time. So it's only like probably by the end of February where you will see like a couple of hours of the sun going down and immediately coming up. But when you go in November and October time, the sun is up and just over like.
So no aurora australis for you.
No, and unfortunately, I've been there twice. I have never seen an aurora, and I've had colleagues who have been there once, and then they have seen because they've been on the ship. The ship does return a little later, but I've never sailed back from Antarctica. So, but so during the summer we do get to see a lot of penguins, though. So that was my only.
That's the king penguin, right?
No, so we in near the Bharti station, it's mostly the Adelis that you see. They are one of the most feistiest penguins that you will find on the continent. And then it'll be interspersed with a few, like one or two king penguins, which you'll see from afar. So I've seen which was like probably 20 kilometers away, like one small, so it's quite far away.
And some seals as well?
Yeah, seals we do get to see quite a bit. Like they'll make a hole. So even we have seen even a seal pup, because they'll come on the ice to give birth, and they'll stay on the ice with their pup for quite a bit, and then they'll go back in. So we have even witnessed that, and they just lie on the sea ice in the middle of nowhere, and. So when we go initially, so Bharti is an island, so we are surrounded by sea ice. So the sea ice is absolutely like this. You can walk onto the sea ice and take a skidoo on it and go to the nearby islands. And so when we go earlier on, we basically walk out into the sea ice and sit. We can stand on it and walk around. And when the summer progresses and you see the sea ice actually melting, and then one fine morning you just wake up and you find the open ocean right in front of you, it's just unreal, because
magical.
It's just magical because just a month before you were just standing on it, and now it's just water. It's amazing. So
if you could please send across some photos or something, and then I'll put it up in the edit as well so that others can see.
Yeah.
That's fascinating. So I think I recently learned that the entire continent actually shrinks during the summer season, and then kind of actually grows back in the winters. But so coming back to, so now you've started this journey, and what is the training like? What are the physical testing? What does it entail?
So when our proposals are selected, we are usually sent for a snow and ice training.
Acclimatization training.
Acclimatization training, which is to Oli. There is a center which is maintained by ITBP, which is Indo-Tibetan Border Police Force.
Okay.
So they do the training for us, basically like for Ensphere, and conduct. And before that, we do have a medical test, which is in Delhi at AIMS. So we go through all our medical tests to see that everything is fine or not. And then we are sent for the training at Oli, where it's now approximately now about 11 to 15 days now. So where we basically live alongside the ITBP personals, and they take us on long treks and help like train us for uh, unfortunately now Oli does not have access to much of real snow that you can see. So before they used to actually take to the glacier. So we even go to Badrinath from Oli, and
Okay.
from Badrinath they used to take us to the moraine area where it would be snow covered at one point, but now it's no more because the glaciers have receded quite a bit. But we are trained to just be around each other. I think for them also to test us to see whether we are able to be with the same people for prolonged period of time. And I think that
Psychological test as well.
yes. So psychological test is not really for us more because there is a winter team also who that goes.
Hmm.
So winter team has for them it is even more important to be able to be harmonious with their own people. So that's why we have these multiple batches that they take us, and even with like for what one of the police personals who were with us, the trainer who was with us, he was saying that it is more important for you to be able to, even when you're absolutely tired, like after a full trek, even then you're able to at least have a conversation with people like in a harmonious way. So that sort of thing is something that becomes important when you're in a place like this. And I think the Oli training really prepares us for that we even after completing our work or how much ever hardship, we are able to sit harmoniously for a dinner and discuss what we have done and go back to our rooms and go to sleep. So I think that's the training that we had to go through. And so that happens, and then by the time when we return back, we have to send our cargo. So scientific research is a lot of logistics, so which I have realized, especially in these field intensive research, where if to make sure that all your requirements, like anything that you require for your field work, has to be sent before time, because Antarctica, you cannot go and order things anywhere. Like
There's
whatever
no
you need,
Blinkit. Yeah.
there is no Blinkit. So any research, like whatever research requirement is there, that also has to be packed methodically. And I think that is something that I have mastered quite well throughout this journey, where making inventories of what all we require. Like, and that I think that is where again I will come back to that your research question matters. That you have to imagine actually doing it in the field prior to even going there. So when we were sitting and packing, I thankfully had a colleague who had already gone to Antarctica before me. So she was quite prepared about
That's
what is required.
GD Samui.
Gautami.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So her name is Gautami. So
Okay.
she's also done her PhD from the same institution. So she had been with me, and she had quite a bit of experience working in this on the field. And I think planning, like imagining doing what do you want to do and packing accordingly.
Yeah.
So that is what has really was something that I was able to inculcate throughout this period. And and then we send out your cargo, and that's when you finally are ready to leave. Like that's quite, and this happens like months apart. So we send out our proposals in probably March or April, and we finally go in October, November. So it's months apart, and it's important to be able to imagine and do. And in the field also, there will be a plan A that you will go with, and most probably it will not work. So you have to come up with plan B, plan C. So there were so many times when we have gone for sampling, and whatever we have carried, it has not worked out. So we ended up like even like our sampling tools to even manage how to do it.
Yeah.
So like the things that we had would not fit in to collect our samples. So we would have to think of ways. So there is a lot of innovation also that has to come
Yeah.
in when we are in the field.
Like a jugaad kind of a thing there.
Absolutely.
And that's what we are experts at, we Indians. So I don't think that's.
I have no regret about it at all. When we are there, it really that like our Jugaad mind, and it was not only us when we were discussing, okay, we need to do this, how do we do it? And then there will be people always coming up with their own ideas. It's like, why don't you try this? Okay, why don't you take this? I think this will help you. So so the entire station is for us to find out how we can actually implement our work, and everyone really comes together to help you out.
Right.
So yeah.
I mean, I have spoken to wildlife veterinarians who've had to use Jugaad. I've spoken to aeronautical engineers who use like Jugaad in satellite imagery. So Jugaad is everywhere in every scientific endeavor. There is Jugaad. So I respect that. So then you reach Antarctica, of course, and you are up in Bharti Station, which is a very beautiful station. Um, Are you also at that point meeting at any point the folks from, say, the Russian station or the Chinese station? Because as I understand, they're very nearby, these stations, right?
Yes. So in Antarctica, the nearest to Bharti's is a Russian station called Progress, and the Chinese station is also nearby. And it is always there. Again, like I said, that Antarctica is the continent which sort of cuts you off from whatever is happening on the mainland. So there is always help that is coming, and that sort of help also comes with where you have exchange of going to the station. They invite us for their special days, and we invite them for say 26th January. Like all the celebrations are quite point on in Antarctica, because that's something that it brings people together. So 26th January and all these things are quite celebrated, and they are all invited. Like they are not all of them, obviously, because that station is also quite large.
Yeah.
Like a lot of people are there.
Yeah.
So we'll have like they choose the number of people that gets to come to our station, and vice versa. Whenever they have an invitation for us, some of us will go. So I think the second time around, I had got the opportunity to go to the Progress station, the Russian station.
Nice.
And we got to interact with them, their research personnel as well, and saw the stations.
So is it like, are you comparing notes? Oh, you have the better sauna than we do. Is it like that, or are you like having intellectual conversations there?
Language is a big barrier over there. So it's mostly a lot of people actually take up playing a lot of games over there. So they'll hone their skills of table tennis, and so those are the conversations that are more prominent, because because language is a barrier. So like what brings them together is something that a game that is familiar to both, or say food. So, or like when you exchange food, then they'll ask like, oh, what did you, what is this, or what kind of
Ingredient,
food are you eating? Yeah, what is going into it? So all those things are more important. I don't know if someone is sitting and doing which sauna is better, but yeah, yeah. But they must be doing that as well. But
and do you ever, in your experience, have you seen any attitudes shift based on what is happening in homeland? Like, do you feel that? Okay.
Not on the international front, really. We've not experienced that, thankfully.
Yeah.
But we within the station, it's always normal that there will be obviously rifts, but I think those are also something that are worked upon, and that's where I think the leader's job. So there's always a leader for each expedition. So the leader sort of tries to pacify and listen to both sides, and I think they play a very important role in governing what kind of
Hmm.
things that are
Hmm.
that goes on in the station. And I think their role is quite crucial. And yeah, that's yeah.
Yeah, it's like HR, but then you really don't have anybody else to complain because it is a very contained environment.
Absolutely. So the decisions that they take have to be very methodical,
Yeah.
and I think HR does not really do justice to what the the
Yeah.
leader has to go through. It is it's a task. It's a task. So yeah,
Like
and
if you were to be made the TL in a future expedition, how would you control that thing?
I would not take it up. So I would not. I don't think I have the persona
The
of taking
necessary
up that.
social skills. Yeah.
Absolutely not. I think I'm okay being a researcher, and I think that's the beauty of being in research, is that you have your conferences, you have your workshops that you go for, but you get to come back to an isolated lab and decompress.
Yeah.
And I think that's something that is very important for someone like me, where I do need my time on my own and have my conversations with my own self,
Hmm.
where I have, like, for me, that time is
Semi
absolutely
precious.
required.
Yeah, yeah.
It's yeah, yeah.
Like you have very low social currency.
Absolutely.
Uh-huh.
I am. I think I have only a few currencies to give out even in a day. So
Yeah, no wonder you
yeah.
prefer this isolated job then that cuts you off from the rest of the world. Seems like the dream job for any introvert is to go to Antarctica, and you've nailed it.
Absolutely.
I thought Asim had it. I thought Asim had it with the island for 10 years, but I think you've overtaken him with like Antarctica. Even
No,
he's not.
but Antarctica does have to, like, we have to still interact with the same people. So
Yeah,
Azim's job is fabulous, because it takes him to the most wonderful places
yeah,
of the planet.
yeah,
But here you still have to interact with people, unfortunately. But
yeah.
yeah,
Makes sense.
because
Makes sense.
because we have to do our galley duties, because nobody's there to pick up and clean up after us.
Hmm.
So we have our galley duties. We have to clean the station. We have our duties, in spite, like, even if someone is absolutely bogged down by their research, they still have to find time and allocate their time to
Yeah,
clean the station, help the chef for food, because food has to be there. I
yeah.
think if food is not there, everybody's going to go
Yeah,
crazy. So
and I realize that you eat a lot because it's very cold. So you on an average you intake more calories on the station, right?
yeah, so it again depends on, again, the team and everything else. But so thankfully, the Indian expedition, like, the the logistics team is fabulous to be able to manage, and what the requirements are. So we are always given a lot of snacks and chocolates to, and so for us, when we were going for, like, even the chef is will ask us that, oh, are you going on field? So he's going to give us our packed lunch as well,
That's so
which is
sweet.
absolutely
Yeah,
something that was not something we were expecting at all. Like, we were ready to even take a bar of chocolate and
yeah.
go for our field, but the chef is going to ask us, like, oh, so how many people are going for field? So he's going to make parathas for us and
That's so sweet.
wrap it so that we can just consume it very
Yeah.
fast. So
Yeah, yeah, and so then of course you're there for a few months, right? 2 3 months at a time, and then you come back in the summers. So you reach early summer and you leave by the end of it, as I understand.
yes, yes.
But then there are these hardcore 14-month overwinter staff, right? 7 or 8 people. So when you arrive and they are there, are they like jealous of you? Is there like hazing, or are you like in awe of them?
So we are absolutely, like, I've been in awe of all of these people, because there are people who have gone to Antarctica, like, been on through the winter, like, up to 7 8 times. So
Wow.
they're repeaters for expeditions. So these are all experienced people, and even quite senior members as well. Like, and I see them, like, we would assume that like a 50 plus year old gentleman would be a little slower, but they are faster than us on a lot of times, where they'll climb up on top of the container and do all sorts of and then motivation really motivates us as well. Like to see them working continuously, and they'll be waiting to put on their dungarees and go out into to work, even when the weather, like there's wind blowing on top of you. So
Yeah.
they're absolutely fascinating. But also what happens is when the summer people leave, the winter people who stay back, for them it's a very sad moment. So a lot of
Yeah.
people that we have made like bonds with, they'll some of them even cry. So
Oh
because
man.
it's really not a great
Yeah.
scene when
Yeah.
people are leaving. But but that's how expeditions are really.
Yeah. And for anybody listening, the I think it's important to highlight what they go through in the winters, which is it's perpetual darkness. There's no communication, little to no communication, and you are stuck inside basically with 7, 8 other people, and you have to manage everything on your own. And
Yeah.
there's practically no help, no nothing that you can take. It's very hard. It's akin to probably going into space.
Yeah. So again, so now the numbers are like you said, 7 or 8. So it's both the stations. There are two stations that are maintained by
Yeah.
India.
Yeah. Yeah.
One is called Maitri, another is called Bharti.
Yeah. Maitri
So
is the
both
older
have
one. Yeah.
about
Yeah.
older one, yes. So around 20 odd people get to stay in the station, but they are completely cut off from like seeing any other human faces really. But right now, thankfully, because of ISRO's satellites, we have communication in both the
Oh,
stations.
okay.
Till a point, Metri did not have any communication actually during the winter. So there was only email that would be a few lines, and the communication officer was going to print out the email and give it to each one of the people who in the station. So, but now that there is internet as well, thankfully, so Maitri has also got communication now. But till I think a couple of years back, I think 4, 5 years back, or 6 years back, there was no communication in Maitri. Bharti always had. So people who used to go to Bharti, like this is like a luxury place that
Yeah.
you're in.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
don't, you have internet, you have everything running full force.
Have you been to Maitri?
I have so when we go through to reach Bharti, we have to transit based on the flight.
Okay.
So there is a intercontinental flight that takes us to Maitri,
Okay.
and previously they would not be able to land near Bharti station. So they would land at Maitri, near Maitri. That's the I forget the station name. I'll probably remember it throughout the time, throughout this talk. But they land there, and then we have to stay at Maitri station for a couple of days till our connecting flight is ready. And the connecting flight is basically those. It's known as a bachelor flight, which it has skis. It lands
Doesn't have wheels.
on
Yeah. It
very.
yeah.
So it has skis, and it doesn't even have compressed chamber, so it tries to fly below the clouds as low as possible so that people don't pass out on board.
Wow.
And it's so from Cape Town to Maitri, it's about 5 hours, 6 hours flight, and from Maitri to Bharti, that flight is it takes about 7 to 8 hours. And thankfully, I have sat on that flight for I think 3 times I've sat on that flight, and all 3 times I've had quite a good journey where the skies were clear, and no such incidents where it even lands in between or in the middle of nowhere to refuel. So it
Oh.
cannot continue the whole journey in one go.
Wow.
So I've been quite lucky that it does get quite warm also, because there's nothing. So the seats are also just put in based on the number of people flying.
Wow.
So it's that flight is an experience that does not prepare you, and you have to sit with all your like whole gear, everything, the dungarees and everything, because if say the weather ahead is bad and you land and then you have to be like right outside, so and it can get cold as well sometimes, like if you're near the door or something
Yeah.
like that, then you will start feeling cold. So it's a strange experience to be on that flight.
Wow.
But because some of my senior colleagues who have actually had their own stories where the flight was so turbulent that it tried to land, but it was not able to land because there was a blizzard going on. So they could not find the runway. And then finally, so piston bullies are basically these snowmobiles that have a cabin inside.
Okay.
Cabin you can sit inside, and it can be used to transport anything and everything. That it's the primary mode of transportation for us in
Okay.
Antarctica.
Okay.
So those were finally put on either sides of the runway and with the lights on.
Oh, so you can see.
For the pilot to
Oh
find
my God.
the runway to
Yeah.
land. So thankfully I've never had that kind of experience.
Yeah.
And even some of our, in fact, it had happened the last expedition I had gone for, that some of the members had left Bharti, taken the Bachelor, and then they got stuck at the Belgian station where they had stopped to refuel. And then they could not fly after that because the weather got bad.
Too bad, yeah.
And then they got stuck for a week. So,
Wow.
and they had to wait there in some other country station for a week until the weather became better and they could fly out again.
Yeah, thank God there's no visa required. I mean, it's just that must have been really difficult. But wow, I mean, I was just observing that even the flight from Cape Town to Antarctica has like people getting up in the middle of the flight and they start wearing their gear. I thought that was extreme, but this is crazy.
So they give us a green signal that, okay, now we have crossed the point of no return, that we are ready to land in Antarctica. The weather is perfect for us to land, so you can go and get dressed up. So so when we are coming out from our hotels in Cape Town, the day we are supposed to reach Antarctica, fly out, we are recommended to wear at least our base layers. So we have our thermals, then we have our middle layer, and then you wear your dungies.
Right.
So they recommend, like highly recommend to us, that please do not at least wear your base layers and go. Yes, you will be uncomfortable in Cape Town for a couple of hours, but please do that for us. Don't
risk.
go risk. So we wear our base layers, and it's quite a sight. Like when you see people all wearing shorts and t-shirt in the rest of the airport, and suddenly this huge group walking in thermals and carrying their
group of nerds.
Yeah.
Could you just give me 1 second? I think the storage is full, so it was giving me this sign to empty the storage. I just don't want the recording to. Just you can take a break for 1 minute, maybe.
Yeah, sure. No problem.
I hope you're not having a bad time, by the way.
No, not at all. Like, so I was quite apprehensive about speaking so much because I tend to, like I said, like my EQ is very variable. So but my partner keeps telling me that once you start speaking, you don't stop. So I think once that it crosses that mark, I'm able to, I think, speak.
Yeah, I think I have the same issue because like you, I also have a very low social currency. And Akansha also keeps telling me, and this is a very bad habit that I start monologuing. So so to get out of my this consciousness and this weird thing that I do, so and in the middle of it, I'll narrate my life story. And then I'll think, oh, why did I overshare so much? And then like, oh, okay, this was my nervous system. Instead of flight or fight, it chose over describe. So
that's actually very nice.
Yeah, so I end up doing that a lot. So anyway, yeah, I think the bin is clear. I think we not have any issue. Okay, so yeah, okay. So now I think we should get down to actually what you do there. So I whenever I interview people, I've done about 31 episodes so far. I've interviewed people, and I always encourage them to go down rabbit holes. Something that I preface the conversation with, that, at any point, I mean, the enemy of a good conversation is like to the point, straightforward answers. So I feel like I would much rather have you go down rabbit holes. But I don't need to tell you that, because you do go down rabbit holes. Not rabbit holes, but like these cryoconite holes, right? So
Yes.
so tell me about these holes that appear on the surface of the glacier, what you do with them, and what is their impact and everything. You give me a monologue on it.
So, my interest in Antarctica is to basically study microorganisms in meltwater ecosystems.
Right.
And one of the meltwater ecosystems that form, as you said, are cryoconite holes. So, so this used to be my starting dialogue of my PhD presentation, where I would go into, like, cryoconite is nothing but basically dust. So they've given this fabulous name, and and my sisters keep saying that, is it like kryptonite? So it's like, yeah, so similar, but yeah, so it is kryptonite for glaciers. So what happens is, because it's darker in color, what happens is that they can absorb more amount of solar
Yeah.
radiation
It's
and
called
melt.
albinus.
Albedo.
Albedo. Yeah, yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
So albedo is where basically, for again, I will explain that. I'm sorry for whoever already knows about it.
Yeah.
So a clean snow, which is white in color, will basically reflect most of the solar radiation back to
Yeah.
the atmosphere.
Yeah.
But when there is any darker coloration or anything on top of the clean snow, they will absorb the solar radiation and reduce the albedo, and cause melting, basically, because any solar radiation will, when anything that absorbs the solar radiation means that it's heating up.
Yeah, the
So it
ice
will melt,
under that dust will get hotter than the ice around it, and it'll sink
it'll
down.
sink down
Yeah.
and cause these meltwater puddles that appeared on the glacier surface, and they basically pockmark the entire glacier. So anybody, if they just search cryoconite hole, the images that come up can be something that can even, I don't know what that phobia is called, where you're afraid
Yeah,
of
yeah, yeah.
holes.
Oh, yeah,
So
yeah.
it can trigger that
Yeah.
as well. So it just pockmarks the entire glacier surface. And when I saw cryoconite holes for the first time, so we had passed by that area for the first time, and we had seen a clean white glacier,
Hmm.
and we walked over it. And then a few days later, when we come, we see it's just covered in dust and with these holes. So it's that fast developing in certain areas. And but in some areas, they can even remain entombed. So it will basically form an ice lid on top. But because there is always dust underneath, there'll be a meltwater, that, like how
Okay.
lakes happen, no? So lakes will have
Right.
a frozen layer on top,
Right.
but inside there might be melted
Yeah.
water, like liquid
Yeah.
water in it. So similar sort of
Like
situations
it's
can also occur.
the ecosystem is entrapped under a thin sheet of
Thin sheet of
ice.
ice, exactly.
Okay.
So they can remain entombed as well, and they can be open as well, like how. And finally, what we are seeing right now, and especially glaciers in the Arctic and even in Antarctica, is that over the summer season, these can even collapse. So due to excessive melting, the nearby holes will join together, and we had seen a hole which was 70 centimeters in diameter.
Oh,
So
wow.
all the nearby holes had joined together and formed this
Wider hole. Yeah.
wider hole.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then the water keeps draining from it. So what my idea is to understand the microbes that live in it. So, and the purpose for it is to basically find out how they are able to adapt to such a changing environment. So they are frozen at one point, and then when the summer arrives, they're melting. So this transition itself, like something that is frozen, and immediately when it starts melting, most cells will rupture, or what in say something that is something that is available here in the mainland, or adapted to this warm climate, they'll obviously not be able to survive over there. But these extremophiles, as we call it, anything that can survive in extreme environments,
Yeah.
and specifically the ones that are able to survive in polar regions, are known as cycrophiles. So these cycrophiles are able to these a range of adaptations that they have got into their system to be able to survive these changes. But their functioning, like how they are able to multiply or how they're able to break down all the organic matter, basically shows how they're able to adapt to these ecosystems within a very short period of time. So my idea is to use these various techniques, like including genetic potentials, and go into their DNA, their RNAs. Now I'm trying to venture into different other using different techniques to study how they're able to function, and then use those as indicators, basically, ultimately, to see what kind of changes or the climate is progressing, how the climate is progressing, how they're responding to warming. Are they able to adapt, or are they perishing? What kind of organisms are able to survive? So are there certain groups only that are surviving and some are perishing? So these are questions that I am still answering. I think during my PhD, I was able to see that there is a shift. Like these ecosystems were mainly thought to be inhabited by cyanobacteria. Basically, they are one of the early colonizers of any ecosystem. So when we started seeing that there are other heterotrophic organisms. Heterotrophs are basically that break down organic matter and can even produce carbon. So hence, like if these sort of shifts happen, then even glaciers can even release CO2 if these sort of changes are more rapid during
Long term,
summer
yeah.
peak. Yeah. So that's where my research direction is really. So I'm again, this again comes back to the initial thing that what kind of questions. So there is a big umbrella picture that you have in mind, and you take smaller bite-sized pieces to be able to fit into like a puzzle that would basically answer a very big question. So I think I'm very far away from answering that big question still, but yeah, I wish to be able to have to be able to answer this, like what kind of shifts are happening in these ecosystems.
So from what I understood of what I've read, the work that you've done, is that there are primarily two types of microbes that live in this ecosystem: the autotrophs and the heterotrophs.
Yes.
And autotrophs are the ones that are surviving on sunlight and don't need to eat food, my layman understanding. And
Yes.
there's something called disintegrated organic matter, DOM.
So they basically, yeah. So when any organic matter is acted on upon by, say, microbes or any other chemical action, so they make it into smaller fractions, or
Yeah,
they
yeah,
consume a part of it and then release a part of it.
yeah,
So
yeah.
it's basically the organic matter, which is basically sugars or like complex sugars, can be broken down.
It's like how
So
animals have fecal matter, they have this
absolutely.
organic matter that they're pushing out.
Mhm.
And then this organic matter is being fed on by the heterotrophs?
Yes.
Okay.
So organic matter that is basically produced even by the autotrophs. So like how a plant is fixing the carbon and carbon into the system, that fixed sugar is being consumed by the heterotrophs in the system.
Okay.
So when you have a autotrophic community, predominantly autotrophic community, what happens is it's a carbon drawdown ecosystem. So
Yeah.
where carbon is being fixed
Sucked
into
out.
the
Yeah, yeah,
sucked out of the atmosphere.
yeah.
But since we are like, I think we are all very much concerned about the rising
Glaciers.
CO2
Yeah,
levels,
yeah, yeah.
Rising CO2 levels that causes a
Yeah.
plethora of other problems for the entire humankind. So what happens is that when the shift from autotrophic ecosystem to heterotrophic ecosystems happen, the shift also happens in the way that the carbon fixing potential reduces,
Right.
and the carbon consuming or the carbon release potential increases. So what if it is maintained in a balance, then it's fine. If it's not, if it shifts to either side, is where what concerns us.
So in maybe other words, what we can say is that initially what we thought to be a net positive for the environment may not necessarily be true, because these things are also releasing carbon. how a
Exactly.
tree takes in, like जो हम बचपन में पढ़ते हैं कि it releases oxygen
Hmm.
during daytime and releases carbon in the night time. This ecosystem also
Yeah.
acts in the similar way.
Yes, absolutely. It can.
Yeah.
So these are our we need more such studies, and I think that's most environmentalists will be continuously saying this, that we need more studies to be able to prove our point. But what is happening here is that some people might say that it's happening far away from us. How does it matter? Like it's happening in some glacier up on the mountain or in Antarctica, which is not even close to us. So these changes at even the most pristine environments also is something that sort of predates what can happen to in other ecosystems as well. And we are seeing those, like, this is a very something that I think humankind has been saying for a very long time, and it is really happening right now. And that's what, like, anything that happens in the polar regions don't really stay there. It has a effect, like when you have these the release of these organisms to the ocean, then it does have it can disrupt even the ocean surface during that period. And even Southern Ocean, which is basically is thought to be the absolute sink, like where a lot of CO2 gets pulled down. And also, if these organisms are able to survive and take over the native population that are doing the job of pulling down the carbon,
Yeah.
then what happens? So these
Like
are questions that,
anything that is weakening the ability of the this polar region to suck down the carbon is going to have not just a butterfly effect but a very palpable effect all over the world.
exactly.
How the hell does iron end up in all of this?
So iron is naturally occurring in a lot of ecosystems. So iron basically helps basically drive most biogeochemical cycles that you see in the world. So there was a very historic experiment performed a long time back, where basically they realized that the Southern Ocean, which is the ocean surrounding Antarctica, is iron limiting. So that is one of the limiting factors that can curb photosynthesis by the phytoplanktons in Southern Ocean.
In and around the
In the
coast.
ocean.
Okay, yeah.
In the ocean. So in the ocean, phytoplanktons are basically doing the job of what trees are doing in on the land.
Right.
So phytoplanktons are basically what doing that in the ocean. When these ecosystems are iron limited, the photosynthesis does not can be like and can even stop. So there was an experiment that was done. So they had dumped iron into the Southern Ocean, and what they saw is that increased the photosynthetic potential in that region.
Okay.
And because the phytoplanktons were not limited by iron. So but such synthetic approaches to doing these research, what happens is that we don't know what kind of repercussions that, because ecosystems do not, like when there is something external put into it, they don't know how it will go
react
back
to
to
it.
its normal. And there can be long-term adverse effects also.
Right.
So those were so since then, such research, like what kind of iron is coming from terrestrial sources to these ecosystems, and like Antarctica, even though it's covered with ice, there are a lot of land underneath,
Yeah.
which can get leached out, and one of the, like, cryoconite dust is one potential source of iron. So that's how
Okay, so the cryoconite dust is the source of iron. I thought there was iron underneath.
Can be a source.
Okay.
Can be a source, because under the iron is coming from the rocks.
Right.
That is there in Antarctica.
Okay. Okay. And then somehow this iron is consumed by these microbes?
So they use it as a tool to do their functions. So it's not really consumed. They can use it as they need it for producing their enzymes. They need it for their functioning, like any functioning, any cycling that they need to do. They need iron. Iron is like an essential component of a lot of most microorganisms, or organisms for that matter.
So when these holes either melt or are washed over and they seep into the ocean, that's where the harmful effects start, right?
So it is not really harmful. So iron is essential for functioning.
Right.
So, but artificially adding it may
Right.
not be a good idea. So when these natural sources come in, is like in one way so ecosystems tries to be in equilibrium.
Balance.
So yeah. So that's what I think there is a natural way of sort of going back into that equilibrium as well. So.
And then in your research, have you, what kind of invertebrates have you observed?
So invertebrates really we have not seen them really, but we have got the DNA signatures. Like we have um, the tardigrades. Like those are one of the most
Cutest?
robust organisms that cutest as well. Yes, definitely. They are known
Yeah.
as water bears.
Yeah.
So they can survive in the most difficult environments. So unfortunately have never seen a tardigrade from our samples, like in microscopic observations or anything like that. But we did see DNA signatures, which made us quite happy actually when we
Oh,
saw the
wow.
DNA
Yeah.
signatures. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that was something that really made us quite happy. But other than that, when we look through samples, like when we do microscopy and all that, like we mostly see bacteria in our samples. So unfortunately, I did not come across really, but yeah, when we saw the DNA results, we did see.
Yeah, because I read somewhere that there are about 25 species of invertebrates that have been identified in these cryoconite holes.
There are like studies going around like all parts of the world
Antarctica.
really. So not
Acha.
only Antarctica, because this even in alpine glaciers, like alpine glaciers, I mean the continental glaciers, even in Himalayas. So these are continuously being studied, and there are obviously there can be even like signatures of whatever is coming into the ecosystem from around it as well. So uh, there are invertebrates as well in these. Even I think some have reported even some like worms also in these from alpine glaciers, especially. Yeah.
I read somewhere that there was a seed that somebody found and they were even able to germinate it at some point of time that they found in the
Okay,
cryoconite.
that. Oh wow.
And that seed was
So
actually from Africa.
yeah, so that is so Africa. So it depends on which part. So again, the air around the air that reaches Antarctica is not only from within the continent. So there is air coming from the other continents around. So there are signatures, like whatever, like the biomass burning, or say forest fires in South America can
Right.
reach through winds into the polar region. So there are signatures of like the black carbon, or say even so when you go and go into the ice core. So a few of my colleagues, they basically date the ice cores based on these major volcanic events as well.
Wow.
So they can date it based on that. So
Because
volcanic signatures are all preserved within
the suit is
these.
visible. Is the suit from,
Yes.
okay.
So it's not visible though. So we basically, when you test it, you can find these like the signatures. The chemistry will be completely different from before and after. So
Right.
based on that.
Right.
So
So
yeah.
at your
So you get
time,
these signatures.
yeah, you say, please
Yeah.
complete. Please complete your thought.
So these signatures, yeah. So these signatures are not only in like anything that happens, any major fire event or anything of that sort will always have an effect in these polar regions, and it will get preserved. So anything that currently is occurring will have its mark on Antarctica as well.
So at your time at Bharti station, did you get a chance to see at this drilling of this ice core thing that?
So unfortunately, no, because the drilling that happens is near Maitri station,
Oh.
and in fact, my PhD guide, he is one of the like one of the initiators of this program. His name is Dr. Taman Melot. So he has been the one who's been involved in doing these long ice cores and taking these ice core records. So most of that work is done near Maitri Station, because you need these stable ice rises. Again, I'm not a specialist in this at all, so I don't want to be the one speaking about it. But yeah, you basically need different kind of structures to be able to go back in time,
Right,
to be able
right.
to get accurate results.
So you were talking about how these cryoconite holes happen not just in Antarctica but all across alpine regions, and I know that you studied, and possibly was it a comparative analysis between Himalaya and the Antarctic region? So what were the
Yeah.
finds there?
So what we did, it was not really intended as a comparative, really, because we were expecting that they will all be different and all. But what we realized is that microbial ecosystems as a whole, they're represented in all the regions very, like, you will have
Uniformly.
uniform, like similar groups are present
Right.
in all across, but they exhibit very different functioning. So they are able to adapt, like in Antarctica, you have very low concentrations of organic input. So they don't have much food to around it. So they develop all possible mechanisms to be able to survive. Whereas in Himalaya, you have more organic matter inputs, because it's more near the continents. So they are not really that limited by food. So they have the organic matter may not, like, the microorganisms seem to be pretty, like, chilled. In other words, like, they're not really. I put it very badly, actually, that they can survive.
Their extremism is not tested.
Yes, exactly. So that's what I think that's one of the major differences that we had found at that from our studies.
And these ones are also, they also need iron to do their functioning?
Yeah, so more like so if you actually go see, like, what is the role of iron in microorganisms, say, if
In
not for
general,
all,
okay.
in general, so iron becomes like a crucial part of like an element that needs to be present for enzymes or activation of certain enzymes. So at what level, like, they need it in micro levels, but they need it for their functioning. So yeah.
Okay.
So even in Himalaya is already a known source. Like, it can be an iron, but it's not iron limited. That's what.
Okay. Okay. What did you say was exactly the definition of being iron limited?
So iron limited is basically where there is no like very low input of iron, or
Okay.
yeah, so to that any ecosystem, basically. So any ecosystem can be, say, what if any of these essential elements are limited, it can hinder certain processes, basically, for any range of organisms. It can be.
Okay. Got it. Not just microorganisms, but any kind of organism will need a certain level of iron to flourish, basically.
Yes.
Okay.
Which includes us as well, because our blood needs iron. So
Right.
yeah.
Oh, right. Of course. Okay. Okay. So now I'll quickly ask you to describe 3 terms that I came across while reading about your work, and I just gave up. I just gave up. So I thought I'll just ask you: Amplicon sequencing, predictive metabolic tools, and phenotype microarray. They sound very technical.
So Amplicon sequencing is basically again a tool to basically study the entire DNA of your sample from any samples. So Amplicon is where you take your DNA, and if you already know that it has, say, I know that it had bacteria. So I would want to target only the bacterial community from the entire population. So where I'll give it, so we have a wonderful tool, I think all of us were introduced to during the COVID, because of it's known as the PCR. So using a PCR, you basically can target exactly the region that you want from your samples, and it will give you back all the organisms that have that sequence, between that sequence, and you will be able to identify the microorganisms present which are related to that particular group that you're looking
So it
for.
has like a list of all organisms that are in that.
So the list, so it doesn't have the list, so it basically gives us sequences. So
Okay.
DNA is nothing but sequences. So it will give us all these sequences from all the samples possible, all that has picked up in that PCR. And then when we get the data, we go back to a database, which can be like it usually, like now there are a lot of curated databases that people can go through, and it's known as a blast. So you basically blast your samples against that database, and you get to identify what organisms are present based on its nearest neighbor. So you don't get exactly the same.
Right.
You can go up to a percentage that gives you like what percentage it matches the nearest one in the database.
Right.
So based on that, so not using amplicon sequencing, we can do this even when we even grow so these organisms we are able to grow in our labs as well. So we use very low media, like low organic content media, to isolate our bacteria from our samples, and we do the DNA extraction from those individual bacteria as well. And we can do the same process in both ways. So amplicon is where you take the whole sample and it gives you the entire DNA, like from the DNA, whatever is there. And when you grow, you can only get a percentage because not all of these organisms want to grow in our media plates. Yeah.
Or like
So that is called amplicon sequencing.
So they die, is what you're saying, like while.
So the thing is, it's not really dying. It's basically they are adapted to a very specific growing condition.
Okay.
And they may not be something that we are mimicking in our lab. We are trying our best to give it all possible ways for them to grow, but it may not be something that it's preferred by them. So when we are trying to grow them, we only get a fraction of the entire population that is present.
Right. So you collect this sample from the cryoconite hole, then you rush back to the lab.
So there is no rushing back really, because we are doing it in the field is because there are we cannot keep enough precautions over there. So we usually freeze our samples in Antarctica and bring it back to the mainland, to Goa, where we in our lab we do our DNA extractions and then sequencing and everything in our labs.
So you don't use the lab on board Bharti station.
So we do the processing to a particular point.
Okay.
But because we don't want to do it, because what if during transit, say, when you put it into, like, a lot of people do it, they do the extraction also. But I don't prefer to do it really, because I feel that I would not be able to maintain the same level of precaution that I would be over here.
Okay, so it is down to your choice or your.
Absolutely.
Okay.
The working method, really.
Yeah.
But yeah, so we freeze our samples in the station, and we bring it back to the mainland to do the rest of the processing and the analysis.
Okay. And then what is predictive metabolic tools?
So predictive metabolic tools this was developed for mainly the medicine side of research, but I found it to be quite interesting to be used even in my field, because it gives us a snapshot of, so what it does is whatever identification of microorganisms we have had with the sequences, it basically matches it to the data, again, the database. And so this database also, so this will get quite complicated, but stay with me. So basically, when in the database, whenever someone is submitting a sequence, there are different types of sequences, and when you have a very good culture, when you are
good sample,
or say a new sample, new bacteria, it is recommended to also submit what is known as a whole genome. So the whole genome of the bacteria is curated and submitted to the database.
Okay.
So what happens is, when this sort of thing is done, so when we are identifying only one part of it, the rest of the genome is still available, the data is still there. So what a predictive metagenome does is whatever is our nearest organism that we have identified, what is there in the functional potential in the rest of the genome, it basically tracks
This
and gives
last part
us.
you will have to repeat. Sorry.
So,
Huh.
you understood. So
I'm
when you
I'm a 5-year-old. Yeah.
yeah. So a microorganism can basically the whole genome encodes for all possible functions that it can carry out.
Okay.
Okay. So the genome holds that information. So say I've got something novel. So a novel means a new organism that I have detected in my sample.
Right.
And I have, when I am publishing that or even not, I am recommended to go through the whole genome, curate the data from the entire genome, and submit it to a public database.
Okay.
So so that has become a mandate now.
Okay.
So when I go back to my own samples again, and I see that, okay, I've got the Amplicon sequencing, which is one part of that entire genome that you see.
Right.
So I know that, okay, it's XYZ organism.
Right.
Or X organism
Right.
that I have got. But the database still has the X organism's entire genome and all the functions that it can possibly carry out.
So a genome is like a family tree. Is it like? Is it?
So genome is basically a DNA, the entire DNA
Okay,
of the microorganism.
Okay, okay. So maybe like a bigger descriptor of the organism that we have is what a genome would be, like a wider umbrella.
So it is basically the DNA of the entire organism.
Okay, okay, okay.
Nothing. So it's not only the descriptor, it is the DNA. So my bad, I should call it the entire DNA.
Right, right.
So genome is the scientific word for the entire all the genes that can possibly be for that organism.
Right, right.
So when we go use this predictive metabolic tool, so this software, what it does is that, okay, X organism is there in your sample. So the nearest neighbor, which we have found, that X organism also has the database with this functions in it. Right. So maybe they can perform these
functions. Okay.
Also, maybe. So
but, it's like a global. It's like a global database of this genome. And all
genomes
and all known functions of it. So you based on. It's like a search engine where you type in, okay.
Exactly.
Okay.
You were putting it better for a 5-year-old than I am.
Yeah. Because you're in the weeds of it, right? I'm trying to understand it like a kid, so that's why. So basically,
I think I will take that up. What you said, it's actually quite nice to be able to. It's like a search engine, exactly. So why I used that was because it gives us because any ecosystem can do a lot of functions. So, but which one to choose? What kind of functions that can happen? So, when we have a overall idea of what the potentials are, then we can go into deep and go in deep and find out more about it.
So if this microorganism is known to do this in this ecosystem, so and I have found it to be in this ecosystem, so then what are the ramifications, implications of that possible action in this environment?
Exactly. And then it lets me also choose which path, like what kind of functions that I want to even explore more into. Right. So say I find that, okay, or carbon fixing is the most prominent one, say from one particular time.
Most concerning.
Yeah. So, or of more interest. So then I go into doing like very specific experiments that would help me gauge, okay, it's not only presence, but also the rates, what kind of function they do, like plan the entire experiment in future as well for that particular
or like a historical analysis of how these holes have behaved.
Also. Yes. So then it gives us an opportunity to sort of narrow down or plan experiments in a better way, especially when we have a short window or limited samples or something like that. So it helps us choose our battles.
Right. So, more consciously, right?
Yes.
And then what is phenotype microarray?
So phenotypic macroarray is basically, again, this is mostly used in the medicine tool, which I think I've again adopted for these environments where it comes as it's sold by a company, and where uh, it's nothing but a microplate. So microplate is where there are 96 small wells in it,
Okay.
which is coated by particular compounds.
Okay.
So it can be carbon in nature, nitrogen in nature, phosphorus, sulfur, anything like, and they have developed like even antimicrobial. So all these things. So it comes pre-made, and we just add our samples to it. And then over time, we just observe that if they are able to consume that particular compound or
Oh,
not.
like an allergy test, like how.
Exactly.
Right.
So yeah. So it's something like that. So it tests as many compounds as you want. So you can it is sold by a company. So it's known as Biolog. So we basically purchase those and we test it, and we for us we basically see like if they are able to, like, one carbon compound, two carbon compounds, or what kind of nitrogenous compounds are they preferring. So those sort of, and is it changing over time? So
Like
those sort of,
what do they have an appetite for? What kills them?
exactly.
How they react in the different.
Yeah, yeah.
Right.
They're probably not able to use a certain compound at all. So
Hmm.
then it gives us, okay, why are they not able to use
Hmm.
the compound at all?
Hmm.
So these are so it becomes, and again, a fast-paced approach to be able to answer a few questions simultaneously.
Right. Uh, would it be a net positive to not have cryoconite holes at all?
In a real world, probably yes. Yeah.
Hmm.
So you do not want triconite holes really on glaciers, because so this happen these form on the ablating. So ablation is where there is active loss of the glacier mass happens.
Okay.
So these are typically formed on that region, and as and when now glaciers are receding, so this ablation zone, so where there is active loss of snow and ice happening, that area is increasing in
Increasing.
most glaciers.
Hmm.
So when this happens, then there is more space for triconite holes to form.
Right.
And like, I have never gone to a Himalayan glacier to see this, but my colleagues who have taken those samples, so they also say the similar thing. Like there'll be like such
Vast.
vast areas of just
Cryoconite
dark,
holes.
yeah, dark book marks all over.
Okay. So,
Yeah.
but have cryoconite holes always existed, or is it something that is a recent occurrence?
So it has been recorded by even as early as, like, the early 1800s. I think it was described quite early on. But again, the occurrences or the numbers were never this high. But it has increased over the last few several decades, actually.
Okay. Okay. So I think we've gone through most of the major questions that I had for you. Yeah, winter season. So just a couple of more questions, and then I'll let you go. I mean, I'll not take more of your time. Uh, okay, so one one silly curiosity I had was that this Bharti station has a closed, limited access room for ISRO. So I wanted to know, what is ISRO doing up there?
So ISRO basically, what they do is they monitor all the satellite passes, and so satellites which are orbiting around the Earth,
Hmm.
but if they are positioned around the equator, for example, they'll have only a couple of passes, like one pass in a day.
Okay.
So because it's a longer path to take.
Hmm.
But if you have a polar orbiting satellite, so
Hmm.
polar region is like it will have multiple passes of that satellite to basically receive the data that it's generating or getting.
Okay, so basically, from pole to pole, if a satellite is going, it is covering lesser distance.
So within the pole. So not only pole to pole. So it's
Okay.
within the Antarctic,
Oh, okay.
the 60 latitude. If
Okay.
you say that's the smallest latitude, right?
Right.
So that's why all these satellite passes are the shortest. These
Will have the
satellites want
most
the shortest
cycles.
path.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
So to retrieve or receive their data. So that's why ISRO has a center over there to receive the information that all that satellites are collecting. So that's why ISRO has a closed room in Bharti station with all their receivers and then their personnel sitting there to basically
Yeah.
do that work for them.
One of the questions that I thought of while talking to you was that would you, I mean, now knowing a little bit more about you, would you like to be one of the peoples who are like overwinterers?
I would like to be in at least a one winter expedition, maybe just for the experience of it. But unfortunately, since the questions that again, the research that I do are mostly on the meltwater melting part of,
Oh.
I would be without work, and I would not want to be without work in Antarctica. So I
Yeah.
think that's the dichotomy of my situation. Is while it seems like the best possible thing to be in
Yeah.
Antarctica throughout the winter, but if I don't have fixed work, then I will probably go crazy. So.
Yeah.
I think that's one driving factor that keeps me sane is that I think I need to work on most days. So I think
Hmm.
that's something that I absolutely
Hmm.
put my time into, even if it is for probably half an hour. I do still go read something or something related to my work so that I think it just balances my brain a little bit. And I
Yeah.
think that's something that is required. And if Antarctica is it is taking me to Antarctica with work, then 100% I would agree. I would jump on that opportunity, but not without work. No.
Okay. Okay, cool. The final question I have, and I ask this to all the scientists or people in the field of science that I speak to, is that is the classic magic wand question. If I give you a magic wand and you can use this wand to basically do anything, there are no ethical or financial restrictions. What is that research or that question that you would like to be answered if you could just use this magic wand to answer?
Yeah, I think yeah, I don't know whether I want to use the magic wand to answer a question really, but it would be to basically rather to facilitate uh, more efficient, I think, sampling. I think that's something that I've always, like, I envision myself to be able to do is create more tools uh, for ease of sampling. And I think that's what I will probably use a magic tool to do, because someone of my stature, where we are carrying like, heavy loads of samples
Right.
back with us, I think that's something that I would like to solve or like to do. And every time I go, I think my mind keeps working, how to facilitate it even more, because we are walking across, like climbing across uh, uh, these icy regions to reach our study site and carrying like load, like 10 kilos of load on the way back. So I think I want a solution for that, I would say. And I think I I want to direct my research also towards those aspects as well
So,
eventually.
is it necessarily a scientific question, or I mean, academic question, or is the answer in engineering?
Its answer is in engineering. Yeah. So, and I think that's where I had read this a long time back. Is that there is, I think most researchers are also in a way, in a small way, has to be innovators as well. And I think that in especially in our field is quite pertinent. And I think that gap needs to be bridged quite a bit. And I think in my mind, I always used to think that that cannot be bridged because I do not understand anything of engineering or of that. But I think once I asked the questions again, coming back to the question again, but I think I will be able to find resources to be able to who can help me or what can help me. And I think it's just about asking the right people about it.
Do you have any designs in mind, some robot that can be invented to carry the load?
Not only like maybe not carry the load, but at least bring the samples to me. So
Yeah,
yes, so there
yeah.
are definitely ideas that I have, and I've even asked people around like only recently, and I think we can come to some answers hopefully.
Yeah, yeah. That will be very fun. Maybe if you can challenge, maybe your institute can challenge some engineering colleges to come up with designs.
Yeah, so the robotic aspect of it is absolutely essential when especially working in these remote areas. So and when it's when we are when we come out of our the core research is when we are able to like look at it from at a distance and be able to ask these questions. I think when we are able to take that step back of that just doing that research very hardcore is I think where we are able to ask these questions. And I think I uh, I am at a situation where I'm able to see the research from a distance for the first time in quite a few years. I think that's because I finished my PhD. Maybe that's why. So,
Oh, you've defended your PhD?
yes. So
So you're a doctor
this last
now?
year, yes.
Oh, wow. So
So,
you're still listed as Miss Sanyal.
so I am terrible at updating
Yeah,
the.
please, please.
Yes, so I have not done it. Even though I think our website is also changing, so I think that it will get updated. So mid of last year, I defended my thesis. So
Wow,
I
congratulations.
thank you.
Uh,
So I think now that I think that was a looming cloud over my head, and I think once I that got over, I think a headspace cleared for me to be able to take a step back and see what else can I do.
But yeah, so coming back to the earlier question about the robotics and everything, I mean, if we can invent uh, satellites that go to Mars or Mars rovers, I mean, definitely, I'm sure even if they want to test a Mars rover, they'll have to, the best place for them to test it would be in the Antarctica. So,
Yes.
so it just occurred to me that for even for ISRO, developing a load carrying rover is not that big of a deal. It just needs that kind of attention to be highlighted so that they get on that
Yeah.
job.
I think that's what I think that's where I right now a lot of researchers are starting to again uh, taking up that like I think that's what when you said that engineering part is required, but the engineers will not have the experience that a polar scientist will.
Exactly.
But unless the polar scientist asks them to that, okay, this is what I'm getting into, uh, and I need help, and that's where the help comes. So, and it's only when we are able to take a step back from our research and um, like it's literally like when we go into a wormhole we don't actually see any daylight. So when we are able to come back to the daylight we see okay what all is can be done. So I think that's where and polar research in India is still at its nascent stages, I would say. It's still there is a lot done. Obviously, there's plethora of research that are being done, but there's so much more that it doesn't end. So I think as and when we are progressing through this is when I think we'll be able to ask more questions about it. But yeah, robotics in the polar field is already something that's being done. So there are these, I don't know if I recently came across something known as the ice fin. So ice fin is basically, it looks like a torpedo that goes and navigates under these sea ice and into the ocean, and it even collects samples. It collects, it has all these sensors on board, and it goes and it can even navigate around on its own to find its way back to the ship again.
Wow.
So should check out it. It's amazing that Icewind that vessel. So
Wow. Yeah, I mean, I'll definitely check it out. But I think one of the things that was coming to my mind was that carrying 10 kgs of load is such a big part of the male machismo experience that, I mean, I would like feel like a sense of like, oh yeah, by the way, I carry 10 kilos of load. But for women in STEM and for people who for whom this is an impediment and not necessarily a matter of great pride that yes, I do this. It's only when women like you will rise up the ranks that you will then knock on doors and inspire people to actually look into this kind of thing, and then also thereby pave the way for other women to come into this and not be uh, I don't know.
limited by anything. So I think
Yeah,
that's something that so it's, I think again I give it to my colleagues who have always, like, for them it's because they have never told me that, oh, it's impossible for us to do. I think
exactly.
if that sort of thing would have been told to me, then I would be like, oh, it's impossible for me to do.
Yeah,
But again, I do believe, I really do stand by that there is nothing in this world that I cannot do.
of course.
And I live by that to that extent that, if it's not happening today, it will happen. I will teach myself, I will push myself, but I will, there's literally nothing in this world that I cannot do.
Mm,
And I think because and that's something that, even like, it's something that's taught to me from a very young age,
mm,
that nothing is the limit.
absolutely.
So if you say that it's a limit, then that's the limit.
Oh,
Otherwise, there is nothing. So
yeah, yeah.
I can, there is nothing that I cannot teach, cannot push. And I think, and again, it's a very good lab ecosystem that is required
Mm,
to be confidently continuing to do everything. And I think I got that. I was very, very lucky. And for a PhD, and that's extremely essential. Like, I keep telling everyone around me, even young PhD students who join, that I tell them that, whatever happens, if your ecosystem is supportive, you can achieve anything.
mm, mm.
So I
It's that thing of again like is a thing of wanting to brute force everything, right? Because you look at a challenge and you feel, oh yeah, I can just brute force my way through this. And but it's when people like you that show up on the field and they actually think that, oh yeah, I don't need to do this. There is, I mean, I can, but I don't have to. That's not my prerogative to, or this is not my priority. I can figure out a smarter way of doing the same thing.
yeah, so that's what, like, the working smarter, definitely. But yeah, like, the thing is, like, when we have that access to, say, a robotics to, or an engineering thing to do it, but until then, do I stop work?
Of course not. Yeah, yeah.
So
Of
yeah,
course not. Yeah.
so that was the thing. So it was only when someone faces a problem is where you, or thinks of it as a problem. And I think it's not like we never thought of it as a problem. We knew that it's a
Mm,
problem,
mm.
but it took us a while to be able to be confident that, if we are facing this, I'm sure a lot of people are facing this.
Yeah, yeah.
So
And this is
why
worthy
not
of a solution.
offer a solution?
Mm,
Exactly. And
mm.
I think yeah, so that way, once we are, yeah, brute force, like you said, it does have its negativity, that it need not always have to be brute force.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think yeah, we I and that does require a lot of introspection also at that point, where you decide that, okay, it does not have to be
Yeah.
always a force.
Yeah.
So
It takes an introvert to solve polar issues. Yes. Well, but thank you so much, Aritri. This
much.
has been this has been a very pleasurable conversation. I didn't think, honestly, that it would go extend so long. I thought that okay, we're talking about small holes, but how long can the conversation be? But this has been for me. It has been an absolute pleasure talking to you. It's
Yeah.
a great learning experience. I've learned so much today.
Thank you
So
so much. And this was the first time I've ever delved into it, and I came with a lot of apprehension, and you made it so easy, Shubhankar. So thank you so much. So
thank you. And if you have any feedback, please tell me. If you have,
yes,
I
yeah,
mean, if there's something that I've done wrong, if it needs correction,
mm,
please let me know as well.
yeah. And I will send across some of the photos so that you can use them. And We even had a very nice video being taken by one of the doctors who were there on the station, and he made a fabulous video. But I don't know whether, like, I've never shared it also. So I've been like, because I'm not very good at social media interactions or, putting myself out there. So I think it's a long video, but it does give a glimpse into
Yeah,
what
please
kind of
send
work
me
we do.
whatever. Please send me
Yeah,
whatever you can, and if I'm allowed, then I'll definitely try
yeah,
to share it in whatever way
yeah,
possible.
yeah,
I can just put it up as a standalone piece on the thing as well,
yeah,
on my channel as well.
yeah, yeah.
So that will be wonderful. And thank you so much. And now, since you've zoomed out and you've kind of taken this, now you're a Dr. Sanyal. So, so I would suggest that you have to then kind of like, maybe the also one of the frontiers that you need to cross is this public speaking, because you are great at it, and I think there is much to be learned from you.
Yeah, I will definitely now think of taking up more podcasts
Yeah, yeah.
and such ventures. It really was something that it gave me a lot of confidence. So thank you so much.
Great. If you learned something new from this episode of the Horsemouth podcast, do rate and review us on Spotify, Instagram, X, or wherever people engage with you the most.